On the air everywhere, this is New England Broadcasting.
Welcome to the Ron Van Dam Show. Hold on tight. Things can get a bit weird, if you like that sort of thing.
Well, you know...
Whatever.
Hey, welcome to the program, everybody. I am Ron Van Dam. We got a special show for you this time around. It's kind of an extra thing. It's on its own turf here. I do a lot of interviews on this program, and every once in a while I'll put together an interview special because we do so many of them. Sometimes I can do up to 5 interviews a day, and I only do one show a day, so things get a little nuts. But I speak to experts in all different kinds of fields, and I learn so much. I speak to doctors and lawyers and mothers and nurses and motivational speakers and people who want to sell me stuff and people who invented something. I mean, just all kinds of people about some of the biggest problems and discussions of our time. The opioid crisis, politics, gun violence, you name it. No, you name it. So today, this is all interviews, one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. I'm not going to talk about anything. It's just interviews with people. There's a good number of them. This could take a couple of hours. But hey, you know, this is interesting. So sit back, relax, here we go.
Hi, Ron. Good morning.
Hello, everybody. We have Dr. Meredith Williams McKiernan and Sims Corbett. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're talking about Actively Aging Week. It's always a week for something. This week is for actively aging. Tell me about that. How do I actively age as opposed to inactively age?
So Active Aging Week is really about talking with seniors and having a dialogue around how do we continue to be physically active as age, and what are the benefits of doing that. We know that the more we move, the more we're able to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So Active Aging Week is trying to help seniors find ways to get moving, but also recognize that physical activity has impacts that go really beyond the health benefits. It also really can help mood, mental health. People often report they feel better emotionally after working out. And we've also found, interestingly, it's become a really great way for people to make social connections. So Active Aging Week is a dialogue we're having with folks about how to get up, get out, and meet some new friends and the benefits of that.
Okay. Now, when we call aging, we're looking at seniors. Is that who we're really talking to here?
It is focused on seniors, but we know that this message is going to be important for
everybody,
family members and caregivers as well. Anyone who's got a loved one that they're helping think about how to keep them engaged and help them stay physically fit. Activity is going to be an important part of that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I know a lot of 30-year-olds that probably are in the same position actively as some seniors, so it might be for everybody. I know that when you become a senior that your bones get a little more brittle and the impacts on your body become a bit more substantial and consequential. So how does a senior move around without actually harming themselves?
That's a great question. So I think there's really 2 big things to think about. One is that physical activity helps preserve strength, flexibility, and improve bone density in particular. We know that for women who really do suffer more from osteoporosis, looking at doing some regular activity, regular exercise, even weight training has been shown to benefit the long-term health. So I really would emphasize that this is a wonderful way to preserve and maintain health. But then you want to also make sure you're doing modifications that are going to be safe for you. Please consult with your physician if you have any questions.
You know, what's interesting is most of the excuses for not exercising is I just don't have time. And when you become a senior, you do kind of pick up some more time. So it kind of works out really well.
Yeah, well, Silver Sneakers classes are a great place to go. We do find that a lot of our seniors are really actually quite busy. They have a lot of outside activities, ones that maybe they didn't have time to take part in when they were younger or working full-time. But our fitness centers, whom we work with, are fantastic, and they provide not only opportunities for exercise, but that social outlet as well. A lot of other educational and social activities, like I said. So if there is extra time, it's a great place to go.
I guess so. So what are some of the simpler things that we can do if we don't actively go to senior center or something like that? What's something we can do around the house or in the neighborhood that promotes this as a starting point?
Absolutely. Well, we have fitness activities on our website that people can watch and take part in. That's a great place to go. There's a lot of online material. Of course, walking is a wonderful activity, a great place to start. And really, any physical activity is better than none.
Yeah.
So whether it's 5 minutes a day or more, anything that they do is a great place to begin.
Yeah.
And I'd say something you enjoy. Just find something you really take pleasure in. I think the phrase working out sounds difficult for a lot of people, but if I say I'm going to go walk around the park with my dog and a friend and chat about our grandkids, that really sounds like something I'm going to enjoy, but you're physical activity, you're getting that social interaction, so I think some of it is just thinking about it a little differently too.
Yeah. I used to take long walks with a friend like every other day, and then eventually I didn't want to walk with them anymore because they were boring. But I guess okay.
Try to find new friends.
I knew it was something like that. No, I do find that psychologically it's interesting too. I know there's morphins and all that stuff going on, but it's a feeling of accomplishment. Like even after you take a long walk and you get back to your house or wherever you're going, it's like, okay, I just accomplished this. That in itself is satisfying.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see that a lot with older adults that I work with. Partaking in physical activity really does create a sense of confidence, a kind of inner well-being, and like you said, a sense of accomplishment.
And we know that exercise is a huge component to emotional well-being and mental health. We know that the more that people are physically active, it contributes to long-term brain health as well. So the mood boost is a benefit as well as the physical impacts.
Excellent. Well, you're both experts in your field, so I appreciate the conversation. How do people get more information about this?
Absolutely. If you're looking for more information on Silver Sneakers, silversneakers.com is a great place to go. And, of course, activeagingweek.com for any of the activities going out throughout the country.
Perfect. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Eric. How are you?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing not so bad, actually. Eric Fuller. Eric Fuller is president and CEO of U.S. Express, which is the fifth largest trucking company in the country. That's pretty big. How many drivers do you have, my God?
We have just a little bit over 7,500 drivers.
Ooh, wow. And with all that number of drivers in your company alone, there's still a shortage for truck drivers, I understand?
There are. It's a nationwide issue. And really the biggest issue is we have people leaving the industry, either going into other industries like construction, manufacturing, warehousing, or we have people retiring, but we're not bringing new, younger generation of people into the industry. People aren't seeing it as a viable career and aren't looking at it as an option.
But it is people for generations have done this as a lifelong career and done quite successfully at it.
Right. Yeah. We see it a little bit as a demographic issue. The younger generation just doesn't necessarily see it as a job because of the kind of the work-life balance. Where if you look back at the smoking the Bandit days and that type of stuff, it was something that kind of was sexy. And today, living in a truck for a week, 2 weeks at a time isn't something that's really appealing to people. And so we're trying to do everything we can to to try and attract more younger, newer people into the industry.
Yeah, my God, trucks though, even technology-wise, I assume the vehicles themselves are quite comfortable and accordingly.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. 20 years ago, it was very difficult to drive a truck. Today, usually most trucks are fully automatic, and so things are much different than they used to be.
Yeah. There are, I have great respect for truck drivers for many reasons. One, because without them, I would not be breathing anymore, pretty much. I mean, everything goes by truck and by road. And B, the skill is incredible. Man, they can back into small little alleys to small loading docks, and I can't even back my car into a parking space at a supermarket. I mean that's a real skill.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think just in general, the whole trade, trades are just, are minimized today. I mean, compared to in the past where people really looked at those as viable careers, today that's it's a little bit different.
So, how does one recruit somebody into this industry? How do you make that attractive?
Sure, obviously, part of it is pay. The other big part of it is how do you make the job a little bit more appealing? So if people are saying, hey, I'm out on the road for 2 weeks at a time, can we get them home more often? Can we give them a more consistent schedule? I think that goes a long way. But the other thing, and what we're announcing today, is we are announcing a program where we will pay for our employees, our drivers, to go to college to a 4-year online program through Ashford University, and they can go and get an undergraduate degree, or actually they can even go and get a graduate degree. And so they're eligible up to, I think, 45 different degrees that are available to them. But I think the even more exciting part is not only are we extending this to our employees, but also our employees' children. Yeah. And so if a driver is out on the road, they are able to send 2 of their children through college, fully paid for by the company, through this program. And what we're hoping to do is, attract new people into the industry that may look at it as an option. It's that old kind of, military concept where people go in for a couple of years, they get a degree, then they move on to, maybe greener pastures. But then also we want to reward those career truck drivers who have decided to make it a career, and we want to reward them, and that's why we wanted to extend it to their children as well.
Excellent. I mean, extending that to their children is that's everything. I mean, that's an expense that, wow, that's pretty cool.
We don't think anybody is doing that. I'm not seeing that in any industry, so we're excited about it.
No, not in any industry or any other place to be in, not even an industry now. That's wonderful, and it is so needed and so vital. And I just want to throw in that passengers and passenger cars and drivers should always be respectful of trucks, the maneuvering thereof, give them plenty of space to turn, don't pass them on the right. I mean, respect that vehicle, that it's doing an incredible job, and it's not an easy thing to drive. And I'm sure the drivers see a lot of things inside passenger cars that they wish they didn't see.
Right. Yeah. If you knew half of it, it would scare you.
No, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. I don't know how. Anyway, I mean, nobody should complain about not being able to get a job when there are careers like this that are available, good-paying careers and respectful as well.
Yeah, there are opportunities out there. So.
Yes, indeed. So where do we go to get more information about this? Because it sounds real attractive.
Sure. So we have a website. It's www.usxfullride.com, and that's USXFULLRIDE.com.
Perfect. Great speaking to you today.
Yeah, appreciate the time. Thank you.
You take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Lee.
Ron, how are you, man?
I'm good. Lee Abamandi joins us now. He's a travel expert. He's a writer and the youngest person to visit every country in the world and the North and South Pole. We've talked before, Lee, because I remember your accomplishments, which are quite amazing.
Well, thank you.
I can barely make it to the bathroom and back, so you're pretty amazing.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, I mean it in a joking sense, certainly. Okay. Well, no one knows more about travel than you, probably, and so we're looking for some some travel ideas. This is the autumnal part of our lives here this year. And that brings most people I speak to say that the autumn is their favorite time of year. Why is that, do you think?
Well, the leaves are changing, the weather is perfect, and football's in high bloom, and it's just a good time of year because it's like not that hot, and it's before the holidays, so people are just getting their last bit of weather, and I think,
Yeah. In Florida, did the palms actually turn color, or they're just the same?
I think, if anything, they just wither in the summer, but I think fall is their healthy time of year.
Okay, good. All right. So you've been around the world. I'm sure that there are some great places to visit that are not crowded and touristy, and they're very interesting. Give me some tips here.
Well, you could travel all over the world, but I'm a big fan of keeping it local in the fall because, like you said, I live in New York, New England, and it's a great place for a road trip. And it's easy for me to travel by car, which is great because I can bring my dog with me. Yeah. And actually, according to a Bank of America survey, half of Americans actually plan to travel by car this fall, and which is great because then you can get anywhere you want and stop and go and come and go as you please, and it's just a great way to see the area.
I'm old enough to remember when credit cards just started to become popular and the interest rates were like 30% or something like that. I mean, now credit card, you can take some really nice trips on a credit card, just keep showing the card and you can actually make a little bit of money off of it. We've talked about this before with this cash rewards thing. So it's almost like,
absolutely,
it's almost like this is like intriguingly, who needs cash now if I can get cash back for using a card?
Well, actually, you're losing money if you use cash. Yeah. I use the Bank of America Premium Rewards card, which actually earns me 2 points per dollar spent on all travel and dining. So if you're going to be traveling this fall, like a lot of people are, you'd be silly not to maximize your points so then you can get more rewards. In fact, if you're a Bank of America Preferred Rewards client, you can earn even more with the Premium Rewards card, up to 3.5 points per dollar on travel and dining, which is pretty amazing. And again, you're actually losing money if you don't use your credit card when you travel or eat.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. I actually have this card, and I give them a call at the end of the year, and they send me a check, and it's like, wow, this is very nice.
Don't you love when people send you a check?
Yeah, and I didn't even do anything. I didn't spend money to do anything. I just this is stuff I was going to get anyway. It's really nice. I like it.
That's exactly the beauty of it. You're spending the money on things that you would do anyway, and you're earning rewards for it.
Yeah, it's cool. Especially like when you fill up the tank with gas. It's like, well, yeah, I'm doing that anyway. It's nice that they're going to pay me back for doing this. This is pretty cool. So yeah, the fall is a time to go around. We're kind of getting into peak season now in the New England area.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm looking forward to traveling around. I grew up in Connecticut. I'll be coming up to Massachusetts pretty soon to go to a game up there near Boston. And actually, according to the same Bank of America survey, Americans are going to spend an average of $960 on activities during their trip. So again, another reason to use your rewards card, because you can really get a good multiplier on the dollar spent. So then you can get free travel even sooner.
Yeah. What do you think people spend the most money on when they're traveling? What part of the vacation seems to be the most card puttable?
Well, actually, nearly 6 in 10 travelers, or 59% of people, say they spend the most money on food and drink when they travel in the fall. And obviously, I mean, what do you spend the most money on? Food and drink. I mean, I know I do. So, or entertainment, really. So that's pretty much, I think, the same for just about everybody.
Yeah. So let's say you're planning a trip, a car trip, whatever. What's the best way to go about that?
Well, get GPS, I think, is probably number one.
That's fun,
Figure out where you want it.
That is cool.
Figure out where you want to go so you don't get lost. It's a lot easier than it used to be, right? You don't have to write stuff down, pull out the map, turn it over while you're driving.
Oh, my God. I'm surprised there weren't more auto accidents with maps being unfolded all over the place. Yeah, no question.
Now you just get to have Siri with her beautiful voice tell you turn left or do a U-turn.
Yeah, I actually get a room with 2 beds because of that. It doesn't make any sense to you, does it?
I'm gonna let you go with that one. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the word is get this card, and that way they'll give you money back for actually using the card that you were going to pull out anyway, even if you didn't. So it doesn't kind of does this. In life, this is called a no-brainer, everybody wins kind of thing.
That's exactly right. It is a no-brainer. Like I said, if you're not maximizing your spending on things that you're spending money on anyway, you're losing out, and everybody else is doing it. And if you want to get either cash back, like you mentioned, or if you want to earn points toward future travel, there's no better way to do it because you're spending the money anyway. That's the whole beauty of it.
Very cool. Well, thanks for the tips, and maybe it'll start some people to get on this thing. And there are, I know you represent Bank of America, there are always various types of cards with all different kinds of programs on them. So if it's not for you, then you got something else that they're offering. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And actually Bank of America has a new tool coming out soon called My Rewards. So keep an eye out for that.
Uh-oh. And that's where they buy you a car every year. No.
I wish.
If so, I'll
put that in the suggestion box.
Right. Okay, one more time where we go for information?
Sure. For more information, check out bankofamerica.com/getmorerewards.
There you go. Lee, always good to talk to you.
Ron, I appreciate the time. Thanks, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
Hello, Dr. Locke.
Hi, Ron. It's Fred Locke. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Dr. Fred Locke joins us. He's Vice Chair of the Department of Blood and Marrow Transplant and Cellular Immunotherapy at Moffitt Center in Tampa, Florida. Okay, we're talking about blood cancer. It's Blood Cancer Awareness Month. I'm aware that there is blood cancer. But for those that aren't familiar, what exactly is blood cancer? We know about all different types of cancers.
It's a broad term that encompasses cancers of cells that are in our blood. That includes leukemia, lymphoma, and multiple myeloma. And in 2018 in the United States, 175,000 people are expected to be newly diagnosed with one of those blood cancers, and that's about 10% of new cancer cases in the United States.
We know about lung cancer and other types of cancer and, liver cancer, because maybe we drink too much or we smoke too much, whatever the case may be. But blood cancer, can you avoid that? How does that come on?
Well, there are certainly risk factors for the development of different blood cancers, whether they be industrial, chemical exposures, things in our environment. There are some hereditary blood cancers, but those are very rare. These are cancers that develop with aberrations in the genes of these cells of our blood. And of course, like most cancer, they're more common as we age, but they can happen at any time.
Yeah. It sounds horrible because, as we know, blood flows through our body, and if you have cancer in your blood, it seems to me like that'd be a pretty quick spreading process.
Typically, when someone develops a blood cancer, the symptoms come on relatively quickly. There are some that are more chronic, and symptoms can be more insidious. General check visits by people out there. Go to your doctor, have your regular screening exams and blood work. Might pick up abnormalities that would lead to further testing, but there's no specific testing to be done.
No, there isn't.
The good news is there's been tremendous progress made in the last 10 and 20 years, and even in the last 1 year, and that's because of clinical trials. People are going on to clinical trials to test out new treatments.
So I guess, but even if you have annual blood tests, the panel may not pick up that particular diagnosis?
Typically, blood cancers will, each one is different. So there's the broad umbrella of blood cancers, then there's leukemias, and there's many different types of leukemias. There's lymphoma, and there's Hodgkin's lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and different types there. Each one might have a different presentation, but typically, the the onset is rather rapid, and it's not something that we recommend people get, additional testing or specific things to look out for. It's just like everything in life. If you notice something abnormal, a lump or a bump or fatigue, to go to your doctor and get checked out.
Fatigue? Oh my God, I'd be going every day.
Severe? How about severe fatigue where you can't get out of bed? Yeah,
that's
a good point.
A little different there. Yeah. It's comforting for the American public to know that clinical trials are taking place, and that there is a constant effort indeed to resolve this, or at least to treat. We've talked about cancer since I was born. I've heard conversations about this, and you always wonder about, well, how come it hasn't been solved in some cases? But it is a long process, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the advances we've made are on each of those individual cancers. And so as we learn about the biology of these different blood cancers or other cancers, we find specific targets that we can go after. And so we may make a lot of progress in one particular type of cancer, and then we have work to do in other types of cancer. A lot of the progress that's been made in the last 5 years is via immunotherapies, using the immune system against the cancer itself.
Yes. I guess we're all used to the term cancer as being cells going awry, that kind of thing. But I guess that general term cancer is real general. It's not a specific situation, I suppose.
Typically, I think of it as a clonal process. You have cells in the body that divide, and that's normal. But when they start abnormally dividing and reproducing themselves, cloning themselves in an unchecked way, that's really where you're thinking of it as a cancer, as a malignancy.
All right, and that's the general term and the broad term of cancer. Okay. All right, interesting. All right, how do we find out more information about this, and what can we do?
Yeah, I mean, really what is, I think, is important is that patients with blood cancers and their families are aware that there has been a lot of progress made. It's on because of these clinical trials, and that clinical trials offer what scientists and doctors believe could be better treatments than what currently exists. And so patients and their families should talk to their doctor, but also, this is your life, and seeking out additional information through websites like the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is LLS.org, or on clinicaltrials.gov. Patients and their families can look up for clinical trials that they could be eligible for. And the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society also has a phone number, a helpline, which you can find on their website that could help people navigate through potential clinical trials. I
mean, I would assume that if you have cancer or you have a loved one that has cancer, that you would do anything, you would try anything to resolve.
Yeah, so I always tell patients that they should be comfortable with their doctor, and they should get treatment wherever they feel most comfortable. But seeking out more opinions is typically a good thing. Getting a second opinion, in some cases even a third opinion, makes sense. Oncologists generally, if not all, never really would fault a patient for seeking out a second opinion about their life and what treatments are available.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fred. Bye-bye.
All right.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Not so bad, really. Melissa Ridolfi is Vice President of Retirement and College Products with Fidelity. Wow. Well, here's the problem, Melissa. As you well know, we can't afford to go to college anymore. The prices go up, salaries don't, and people don't save, and this is a problem. But there are ways around it. I know that that Fidelity is constantly taking surveys and trying to figure out this dilemma.
That's right. We are seeing that more parents are starting to save earlier, so there is some good news there. Yeah. Parents are starting to save when their child is 5 years old, and that's down from 7 years old just 2 years ago. But there's a couple things that were interesting in the survey. I think parents are more realistic about the cost of college and how much they can cover themselves. So the other thing that was uncovered in the survey is that they only expect to pay 62% of the college cost. So that's down. So they definitely want, to save, but they want their kids to have some skin in the game as well.
Oh, so the kids are going to have to pay a little bit too.
Yep, they want their kids to help chip in with the cost of college for sure.
I mean, there's various there's all kinds of elements involved. Obviously, the parents can start saving for their children if they're good-minded parents, but in many cases, the kids have to pay for it and get college loans like 100% wise. So there are all kinds of formulas involved, but I think your point is that at some juncture, whether it be when they're born or even later, there's ways to save for this.
That's right. There are ways to save, and about half of the parents that were surveyed aren't sure the best accounts to use. So we would, we definitely want to make sure that parents start to save early.
Yeah.
They save in a separate account and don't commingle their funds. So save in a plan like a 529 savings account. That way they don't use those funds for other financial needs. And it's important that they save on a regular basis. So some parents in the survey said that they actually treat their savings as almost a monthly bill that they pay to themselves to help meet their college goal.
Yeah, just like a cable bill, right?
That's right.
Same deal. You said a 529. I don't even know what a 528 is, so I don't know what's going on. And seems like there were a lot of numbers before that. What's a 529?
The 529 is a tax advantage savings account, and parents can save in those accounts. Some states, 30 states, actually allow you to take an in-state tax deduction from those contributions.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get a little help with your taxes when you save. And if you use those funds for qualified educational purposes, then you don't have to pay taxes when you take the money out of those accounts. So they're really designed as a tax advantage vehicle to save over the long term.
Okay, that's not so bad. What the economy's pretty good right now, whether it's real or fictional. It seems to be pretty good. I think some people are still nervous. I mean, you do the surveys, I don't, but I think some people are still nervous that this can't go on forever like this. They don't know where to do their investments.
That's right. So the important thing for parents or anybody is really to save, right? So you want to start saving. Now, whether you are, comfortable or not with the markets and, you may be more risk averse than your neighbor, you definitely want to save. And there are investments that are appropriate for your risk tolerance. So there are more conservative investments if you're very risk averse. There are a lot of the savings vehicles in a 529 account actually let you set your account to the year your child is going to graduate.
Yes.
And then it's more aggressive, when your child is younger, and it becomes more conservative over time as your child reaches college age. So it automatically kind of resets down the allocation, away from stocks, more towards bonds, so you can more conservative when you need those funds.
That's investment life itself. We start being aggressive, nothing can hurt us, and then when we get older, it's like, I want to be a little safe now. It's kind of what it's all about. See, that's why they have companies like Fidelity. I don't know if you know this or not, but because that way you can go with one person that you work with, and they can shift. They can do different things as your mood shifts, and as the economy shifts, and the country shifts, and your needs shift. And that's important because we don't know what we're talking about here. You need an expert on. I wouldn't do my own heart surgery. I don't know how to do that.
That's right. There are definitely planners and advisors that can help parents not only think about how much to save, but how to invest those assets to make sure that they can meet their child's college goals.
Yeah. Okay. And again, the earlier you do it, the better. But even if you didn't start early and you haven't done anything yet, and your kid's like 10 years old, you can still save something because the whole thing out of your pocket is not a good deal.
That's right. And it's never too late. You definitely want to start early, but the important thing is to get started and, not let that inertia set in.
Right. And to treat it, as you say, to treat it like it's a normal bill that comes in. You pay it accordingly, and you don't, you don't not pay your cable bill. You won't get cable. You don't pay your college bill.
That's
you won't
right.
get. You won't get college. That's all. That's how that goes.
That's right.
All right. Anything else I need to know?
Parents can go to fidelity.com/college. There's a lot of information on those web pages to help them better understand not only their savings options, but just how to think about savings. There's also calculators, where they can, they can really think about their individual savings goals and really help them get started.
Very good. Let me just throw something in, if I may, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Kids don't have to go to Harvard or an Ivy League school necessarily to get a good education. Stop throwing all your money into those things. A good education, a college education, is important and required, but doesn't have to be at that level, so stop going crazy. But you still have to pay for it, and you still need to do that. Maybe someday we won't have to pay for college. Who knows? But that's not today. Any comments, Melissa? Probably not.
No.
Okay,
Thanks so much, Ron.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Craig Chapman joins us now. He's Vice President of Mortgage Sales and Development at PenFed Credit Union. And we're talking about home buying trends and tips on buying a new home. Boy, we need help on this. I'll tell you something. The market just keeps changing up and down, and I got 1,000 questions for you. But
great.
Let's talk about how to afford a home these days. Is it easier to get a loan than it used to be? And let's talk about home equity loans as well. What are those?
Sure. So at PenFed, actually, this year we've had explosive growth on our with our Second Trust activity. We had a national survey that indicated that 95% of homeowners currently like their home.
Yeah.
But the majority would like to make some type of a renovation.
Okay.
And a lot of that's being driven by there's a tremendous number of people that are looking for homes right now, but not much supply. So they're actually saying, okay, I like my house, but I don't really like my kitchen, and I want to do something about it.
Yeah.
So they're using the second mortgage to finance those renovations.
Well, doesn't it come down at a point to, is it more economically possible for me to upgrade what I have, or do I just go into another home that already has what I'm looking for?
That's certainly a case-by-case situation. But if you're thinking about buying a new home, I would encourage you to secure a pre-approval.
Yeah.
And that'll give you some indication as to whether it makes more sense for you to stay in that neighborhood, in that home, or move.
Yeah.
And again, the challenge has been for those looking to move, multiple offers. It seems like people are becoming frustrated with that process and are coming back to their house and saying, how can I make this house my dream home?
Yeah. Wish there was a way to get your neighbors to move, but that's a whole different conversation. Anyway, all right. As in any subject matter, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions, and certainly in the home game, there are probably plenty of those. What are some things that probably a lot of people don't understand or don't get right?
Well, Ron, you actually alluded to it before. People don't realize that they can take a second mortgage out and fix their home. If you like your neighborhood, you like your school, but you hate your kitchen, it's very easy to fix that versus maybe uprooting your family and moving to another area. So I think that's a big myth. I think that the second big myth is that you have to go to a big money center bank or an online lender to get a great deal. I encourage people to look at member-owned entities such as PenFed. They exist for the members, so their focus is to, or our focus is to drive value back vis-a-vis low rates, low fees, and great service. So those are some big things I would recommend.
That makes a lot of sense. To take out a second mortgage, is it usually the same rates as it would be to take out a mortgage on a new home, or do they vary differently because of the application?
Well, you would have a couple of options. You could take a line of credit out, which would be more a variable rate situation, and then you'd have a fixed rate. And a lot of people are staying put because we went through the largest refinance boom maybe in history. So people have 4%, 3.5% first mortgages in their current home, and they really don't want to give that up as rates have risen a little bit since.
True that, because rates are only going to go up unless something catastrophic happens, which wouldn't be good anyway.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay. All right. You mentioned the kitchen. That's an interesting point that you mentioned, because I believe, and you would know better than I do, that rooms like a kitchen are the most what attracts people most to the value of a home when purchasing or selling.
Absolutely. It's what catches the eye. It's where usually most families congregate.
Yeah.
So, usually if you fix your kitchen, you probably like your house a little bit better.
Probably so, yeah. Interesting. A lot of people think about additions, too. I know I don't know if there's a misconception there. Those are rather expensive things, but I'm starting to see additions go up more so now these days.
Absolutely. Again, people are frustrated with the process of losing multiple offers on homes, and they come back to, I really like my house, and to your point, I just want that extra bonus room. And they're building them, and they're very happy with their homes after that,
very
as
interesting.
our survey indicated.
Okay. So how do you go about people helping you to make these decisions?
Well, I think the first, again, we talked about getting a pre-approval. So sitting down with a mortgage advisor and going through all your finances and talking about your goals and aspirations. And as the conversation progresses, you'll have a much better idea as to which direction you want to take. But once you're pre-approved, if you do decide to go and purchase another house, you'll be in a great position because you've got your approval. You're somebody who's financially viable, and it'll make your offer that much stronger.
Craig, how do you, the biggest question I have is, how do you juggle between selling your house and buying a house? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? In which scenario are you most vulnerable to having, to paying for two houses, or on the flip side, having no place to go?
Yeah, that unfortunately, you're right. That's happened in this market. Again, I think once you sit down with your advisor and you decide, I really want to move, and you work with your real estate professional, you'll have a great idea from a timing standpoint as to how to move forward. But what we're finding, again, back to at Penn Fed, people are staying put, and they're, as you said, putting extra bonus rooms on. They're finishing off their basements. They're making their current home their castle or dream home.
So it's better to put your money into your house than it is into your car, for example.
I would say for sure.
Yeah.
I'm living that right now.
Yeah, okay. You pretty much know what's going on there. Let me say something. You don't have to respond to it. I love credit unions for a couple of reasons. One is because they're so local for the most part. You can actually talk to them. The bigger bank institutions seem to be very machinistic. You can't get responses or advice from them, and their rates are usually higher in the big banks, I've found.
Yeah, a credit union serves at the pleasure of its members.
Yeah.
So again, our first mission is to make our members happy and offer the best value we can.
Yeah.
So we're not subject to, secondary market pressures like stock price and things like that. So, our goal, I can't speak for those folks, but our goal is to make sure that our membership is served in the way that we promised them once we go points.
At one point in my life, remember, I was questioning an insurance thing on a mortgage because you have to pay house insurance on, and I tried it. I had a big bank, and it took me like a week to get through the proper person. I was shuffled up. Well, check with your town or do this. And then I also once had a mortgage with a credit union, and it was just, I just went down there, and they sat down. They said, "Here's your answer." I said, "My God, how can it be this easy?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that you had that experience with a member-owned organization.
Yeah.
I think again that the focus that we have is member-facing.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy, then I promise you we're not happy.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like a slogan. Wow, it's pretty effective. I like that. Can I use that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. How do I get more information about this, Greg?
Just go to penfed.org, and you'll find everything you need on the website.
Okay, I'll spell that in case someone doesn't know there, because it's penfed.org.
Great. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Hey, good talking to you today. Thank you very much.
Ron, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Ron.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Sarah Wenger joins us now. She's a PT, Associate Clinical Professor at Drexel. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about the opioid crisis, which is the topic of discussion for quite some time now. And the question is, how do you handle this and the pain management associated with it? Tell me what you do. I know PT and DPT. What exactly is that?
So DPT is Doctorate of Physical Therapy. So all physical therapy degrees now are at a doctorate level.
Okay. I thought that the treatment of an opioid addiction was through medications, but not always, I guess.
Well, hopefully not most of the time. So medications are great at diminishing pain in the moment, and then they wear off, and then you still have the pain.
Yeah.
So they really don't do anything to address the underlying issues that are related to the pain, and the longer you take them, the more risk you run of having side effects, and obviously the more risk you run of having addiction.
When we think of physical therapists, we always think of working your muscles back from a knee surgery or something like that. We don't often associate it with internal addictions.
So we do see a lot. Our most common reason why people come and see PT is for pain of some kind, or for some problem with movement. And chronic pain obviously comes along with pain, but because of that pain, there's problems moving, problems engaging in the activities that people want to be doing, work, home, walking the dog, whatever it is. And so we're really there to educate people about pain and to help them move better and in a way that that's going to be safe, that won't flare up their pain.
Okay. And this apparently is quite effective, I would assume.
It is. Physical therapy can be quite effective, and that's different than, the pain is completely gone, I don't even remember where it was. But physical therapy is really effective in getting people doing what they need to do with the minimum amount of pain. And so depending on what's causing the pain, if it's something chronic causing the chronic pain, then, there may still be some underlying issues or discomforts. But with the physical therapy, you can get doing the things you need to be doing with a minimum amount of pain, and kind of know what to do if you have pain, and know how to avoid making the pain worse.
Right. Yeah, what I get from you is that taking medication would mask the pain, but the physical therapy would actually relieve the situation to some extent through movement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends what's going on and what the different factors are. That's why people really advocate an interprofessional or interdisciplinary approach for pain, because pain is complex, and there's a lot of different things going on and a lot of different avenues that contribute to the amount of pain you have. Yeah. And so having people, different professions looking at it from different angles really has been the most effective way to treat it. And, our angle in PT is through movement. And, you know, when you have pain, you don't move as much. And when you don't move as much, you get out of shape and you gain weight and you get weak and all of these other things happen. And it's sort of pulling you down in the wrong direction. And our job in PT is to kind of wind that back up and get people going in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong, but if I had some type of pain, I would go to a doctor, and I think their first course of action would be to prescribe some type of pill for me. And then after a fashion, as a further option, they might suggest PT. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe that should be suggested as a first line of resolve sometimes.
Well, and I think what you just described is how things used to happen very often. And that's what the new CDC guidelines about pain management are all about, is trying the non-opioid options first and really using opioids very, very sparingly. But even when you're on opioids, it's still important to engage in the interdisciplinary approach, and it's still important to move.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do most health insurance policies agree with that priority list that you just gave?
Well, I'm not going to say whether or not they agree because I'm not entirely sure. But I do think things are changing. I think there are a lot of limitations, and I think that's a frustration for patients out there where they either don't have physical therapy covered, or their co-pays are so high that it's really difficult to afford, or there's just 10 mountains of paperwork to complete before they do it. So I do think there are barriers to the alternatives to opioids. But I would think with the opioid crisis and with the new CDC guidelines, and there's certainly been such a big focus on it, I would think that the insurance companies are going to be making some changes and sort of relooking at that. That would be my expectation, is that they're going to jump on board kind of with the rest of the healthcare team and tackle this problem.
Yeah, hopefully. I think it should be that a person listens to something like this and speaks to their doctor and says, I'd like to try physical therapy to resolve this situation. And the doctor would say, sure, I go there, and your insurance company will contact me, and I will say that I did prescribe physical therapy. And I think a patient should be able to say, this is the method that I would like to use.
Yeah, I think we have a whole #ChoosePT campaign, and that's why we chose those words for it, is we do believe that patients have a choice, and we do acknowledge that there are a lot of different ways to treat pain, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. So patients absolutely should be voicing their preferences and their opinions, and just also their gut sense. Like, what's your gut sense that what's going to work for you? I always acknowledge my patient's gut, and they're not always right, but they often are right.
Very good. Any other messages that you want to put out here?
Well, if you're looking for a physical therapist in your area, MoveForwardPT.com has a Find a PT feature, along with a bunch of other good information about what to expect in PT. And really my biggest message for patients out there is share what you're thinking and what your beliefs are about pain and what your preferences are with whoever you're treating with, your physical therapist or anyone else, because that's how we individualize treatment to you, is by knowing what you want.
Okay. So it's MoveForwardPT.com, did you say?
I did, yes.
I think you did. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for the information. I think that some of our listeners find that quite valuable and can start conversation with their physicians accordingly and take charge of their own treatments. Great.
I hope so.
Cool.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Lauren, how are you doing today?
I am awesome. How are you?
Fantastic. Lauren Fix is the car coach. She's nationally recognized automotive expert, since we got her here today, because we're getting close to the colder weather, and it's time to, I guess, winterize is what we're talking about. Let's talk about oil changes to start with here. Lauren, why is an oil change so important?
Well, it's the lifeblood of your engine. So a lot of people don't realize that you forget to change your oil, and I actually have had people contact me as an ASE certified technician, and they'll say, I forgot to change my oil, and now my engine's seized, and they have a $10,000 plus bill looking at them. And so that's more than the value of many cars.
Yes, there's no question about that. The newer cars, you don't have to change the oil as often as what I remember like 10 years ago, where you had to change it every 2 miles practically.
It used to be every 3,000. It's now between 5,000 and 7,500. If you use the full synthetic, you can go that way. But what happens still, even on a newer car, is you get the sludge buildup.
Yeah.
It's called stiction, which really doesn't mean much to many people, but that sludge buildup can actually slow an engine down. And if you know, wow, my performance is off, my fuel economy is off, one of the things that you can do is use an engine oil treatment, and there's a product out that I've actually been testing. It's called Hot Shots Secret.
Yeah.
It's a 2-step oil treatment. It cleans out all that buildup. And so what I found, at least because I was doing it with one of my older cars, is it removed all the engine dirt, and it actually made it run smoother, ran stronger, and I keep my cars for a long time. So it was really great. And the next time I change my oil, I use the second part of it just to keep it running clean.
Lauren, yeah, I'm sure you change your own oil, but I don't.
I do.
Yeah, I don't. So, I mean, most people don't. So how do you incorporate that if you don't change your own oil?
You can either ask your place wherever you get your oil changed, whether it's a quick change place or your favorite mechanic, or you buy it and bring it with you and just say, hey, can you put this in?
Well, that's good.
And you can buy it online, which is what most of us like to do our buying online these days. So.
Okay, all right. So, all right, and how often? So you do it when you make that oil change, even if it's after 7,000 miles.
70, depending on whatever your owner's manual says.
Okay, all right. I still got to go by that.
And it works for diesel and for gas.
Okay.
I have a diesel SUV, which I'm keeping forever.
I would assume you would as the car coach. Okay. What about tires? I know, especially when it gets cold and icy outside, that if you don't have good grip tires, you're going to end up off the road somewhere probably.
Yeah.
I know that's important, but I have a question about treads and balancing.
Okay.
What are the guidelines on this?
Well, one of the things, there's only 4 things that touch the ground, whether you drive a little Mini Cooper or a gigantic truck, and that is a tire. And on that spot, it's called a contact patch. It's about the size of your fist. So I live in Buffalo. It's the same lovely weather you get in Boston. And one of the things that's really important is, one, check your tire pressure once a month against the number inside your driver's door. If your tires are worn, it's time to replace them. Also note that you do not want to wait as the winter comes along to get around to changing your tires. So if you're one of those people who says, I need an all-season tire, I don't have a place to store snow tires or winter tires, what do? I need a tire that's good in the rain and the sun and light snow. I've been using the Kumho tires, and they're really good. They have a new X-Stuff PA51, which may not mean much to you, but Kumho's been around for a long time, since 1960, and they've got some really innovative tire compounds, and it really gives that confidence, and that's what you need. I mean, you got family in the car, you're trying to get to work, and you're sitting in rush hour traffic like all of us do. The last thing you want is to have a tire problem get stuck on the side of the road.
That's for sure. Yeah, getting a good quality tire is definitely, and an all-season tire is definitely worth the money, because otherwise you're going to spend a lot more changing tires all over the place.
Right, and get them balanced, get them rotated. If you don't know what you're doing, that little book in the glove box underneath all the napkins and ketchup packs will not just tell you things like tires, it'll also tell you when to get your oil changed and also when to get your spark plugs changed. And that's another thing that people forget about. They're like, spark plugs? I haven't changed plugs since the 60s. Well, you know, but the fact is they do need to be replaced. And the thing, you don't notice it until you go, again, fuel economy, performance is down, the light turns green, and you're like, man, this thing isn't running like it was. That's where you want to look for a spark plug. And the new technology that you want, is the highest technology, is an Iridium XP plug made by Autolite. And it'll actually improve the performance and the fuel economy, but it also has a limited lifetime warranty, which I think is kind of cool, because I've never seen that on a plug before.
Okay. Let me ask you.
And you don't have to do those yourself. You get a mechanic to say, I want the Autolite Iridium XP plugs, and they go, got it. You know.
So I ain't doing anything myself, I got to tell you. Maybe
tell the mechanic what to do. They'll do it. They want your business.
I mean, maybe I'll change the wiper blades. Maybe. I mean,
you can do that.
Yeah, you don't know me. they would end
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. There's a lot of things you can do yourself, like cabin air filters. You live inside the car, and like maybe you brought home some chicken wings or pizza, and you're like, wow, the car smells funky. Like it smells moldy, and you can't figure it out. Well, believe it or not, a lot of people have allergies like myself, but also those scents get trapped in the car, and you need to replace that cabin air filter every 6 months, and every car has it.
Whoa.
And not just like, I don't even know where it is. That's okay. Again, you can go to any auto parts store, wherever you buy a cabin air filter. I use the Bosch HEPA filter, like the same HEPA filters you use in your furnace.
Yeah.
And they'll replace it for you. All you have to do is buy it.
Wow.
It's kind of cool because having someone do it for you, then you see it and go, really? I could have done that myself.
Yeah, maybe.
And when you realize it, and it filters out about 99% of the dust and the pollen and the mold and that icky smell that gets stuck in your car.
I would have never thought of that ever. My God.
Well, that's the same as your home, right? You go, gee, I haven't replaced that furnace filter in a long time.
Yeah.
And when you do, suddenly you're like, wow, the house smells nice and clean. It's the same thing as where you live inside your car.
Yeah, my car's my favorite place. It's a very comfortable cabin. Very nice.
Yeah, what are you driving?
I have the Lincoln MKX.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah.
Excellent vehicle. I just drove the new Nautilus. Very impressive. Yeah,
so
very much like it.
Yeah, I lease, so I have to change every once in a while, so that's interesting.
Check out the Nautilus. You'll fall in love, trust me.
Something. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I should pay you for this.
Well, as the car coach, I advise people on new cars, used cars, and ways to save money, things you can do yourself to be smart, because as the fall hits, the Car Care Council, who I work with, it's a not-for-profit group, we just try to educate people so you have pride of ownership, you're confident on the road, and the last thing we want, and the worst thing is seeing someone stuck on the side of the road. It just tears my heart out because you're like, all you had to do was that simple maintenance to save yourself that headache.
Yeah, I mean, it's the second most expensive thing that we own next to our house, and some people don't even own their house, so,
That's true.
Yeah. So
but your car is your transportation to everything in life, and,
it's my
even if you live in downtown Boston, there's still a lot of cars down there.
It's my freedom is what it is.
Yes, it is. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. All right, did we cover everything we need to cover here?
Yes, we did, and if you need more information or you want to, how do I find that or I missed that, you can go to tipsontv.com or my website, which is carcoachreports.com.
Great. Lauren, this has been very cool. I always love interviews where I learn something that I did not know before, and you've accomplished that here. Hey,
thank you. Anytime you want to talk cars, I'm your person.
You got a deal. Hey, thanks for the time today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, hello, everybody. How you doing?
Fine, how are you? And hi to Boston, I guess.
Yay. Hi back to you. Antigone Davis joins us now, and Colin Robinson. We're talking about Facebook and the National PTA, Parent-Teacher Association. They're joining together to combat online bullying. That's a good thing. I'm glad you're doing that. Whose idea was this?
Well, I would say it was sort of a joint initiative. Both the PTA and Facebook are really concerned about making sure that kids have the online safety skills that they need to live in a world that's become so digital.
Yeah, and PTA has been in the digital safety space for at least the last 5 years. So this partnership really just kind of made sense.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And not only is it a national situation, but it happens basically. It starts locally, and that's when you start bullying online to local people that you know, and that just blossoms out of control.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons that we focus very closely on working with the PTA, because we know that almost always when someone is bullying somebody online, it's connected to something offline. So working with the PTA, we could really get into local communities, give parents the tools that they needed and the resources that they needed to help guide their kids through these situations, as well as giving them other digital skills, and making sure they have a chance in their local community to talk to other parents.
Yeah, and these conversations that parents are having when they talk about good citizenship offline, it's really some of the same fundamentals that we need them to be talking about in the online world as well.
Here's what I don't understand. Bullying is kind of a nice little social word. But it's really it's a form of mental assault and battery. I don't understand why it's not really more of a crime.
Actually, it's funny that you say that. In many states, they do have legislation that makes it a crime to bully somebody. But I do think one of the things to keep in mind is that we are talking about kids, and it's an opportunity to really teach them about how to have good connections with their friends, how to give them the social and emotional learning skills that they need to take on tough situations. This is something that really is an opportunity for them to educate at this young age.
Yeah, it is difficult because they are kids, because they tend not to mention it. They tend to internalize it, take it in themselves. There must be something wrong with me. Why does everybody hate me? And then horrible things happen as a result of that. Is it also a question of actual telling people what's going on?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that we actually have a link to our bullying prevention hub.
Good.
We worked really closely with the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence to help parents have that kind of a conversation with kids, to recognize potential signs of bullying, whether maybe a child becomes unnaturally introverted all of a sudden, to then give them the tools that they need to start those important conversations with the child to find out what's going on, and actually to give the child an action plan for how to respond, who to reach out to.
Because it's not always the parent that they're going to reach out to as well. So if the parents can let the kids know that they can go talk to any adult, whether it be a counselor, a coach, another teacher, so having the parents give the kids the skills as well to kind of handle these situations.
Yeah, it's a tough one because bullying involves intimidation, where if you tell anybody about it, things are going to get a lot worse for you. It's it's like terrorism.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I do think that telling somebody about it actually can make things much better.
Mm-hmm.
Finding that right person to tell is really important, and knowing that there are people out there who are there to support you is really important. And making that online-offline connection is part of it. In our Bullying Prevention Hub, there's actually a whole set of resources for educators as well, so that they can actually create the kind of school environment that doesn't open the door to bullying.
Okay, so you're creating a hub where people can go, or kids or parents can go to get more information to find out how to handle it. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, kids, parents, and educators.
Mm-hmm. All right, good. Yeah, educators need to step up too. I know, I hate that phrase, well, they're only kids, or kids will be kids. That's not true, because kids will be adults. And
that is true. They will one day.
Yeah, and just because the president doesn't mean it's okay for you. Okay, you don't have to respond to that, certainly. So where do we go for more information about this?
It's a PTA. Facebook has been good enough to give grants to all 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
And to learn about those, they can go to pta.org/digitalfamilies.
And if they want to check out our Safety Center, they can just go to Facebook /Safety Center.
Good. Well, thank you for doing this, both of your organizations, because it's important, and the more that we get into this, the better it is, as you say. Thank you
thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak about it.
It's really important.
So
I mean, what happens at that stage of life follows you through the rest of your life, so it is incredibly important. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, bye-bye. Andy Stewart joins us now. He's president and CEO of Norwegian Cruise Line, and I understand more people are taking cruises than ever, I guess, seems like.
Yeah, the industry is absolutely booming at the moment. We've just had another record year, and expect that to continue. So I think it's an exciting time for cruising.
Great. Why do you think people are turning to cruising as opposed to other forms of travel?
I think there's a few reasons, Ron. One, the value of a cruise is just unprecedented. Secondly, the destinations we're cruising to. We're cruising all over the world. And thirdly, the innovation in the industry, and I think Norwegian's been right in the middle of that, has been really exciting. The new ships that are coming have so much on board that generates excitement and delivers an experience that people are really excited about, that more and more people are realizing it's just a fantastic vacation choice.
It's interesting because I have many friends who do that, and they love it because they get onto the ship, they have their belongings with them, their suitcase, and that's pretty much where they stay for the entire trip, yet they're all over the place. They don't have to drag their suitcases from hotel to hotel and then the next city and the next town. It's just incredibly convenient. They just park their butts and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You pick a destination, and then you get on the ship. You unpack once, and then there's no worrying about Ubers or taxis to get to restaurants.
Right.
But you have 26 different restaurants to choose from. Entertainment that could be on Broadway or in the West End of London, and activities that just you don't expect to have on a cruise ship. At Norwegian, we just put a racetrack on top of a cruise ship.
Get out. Really?
We have a 1,000-foot racetrack with cars zooming around the ship at 30 miles an hour.
Wow.
20 stories up on the top of a ship. So the industry's come so far. And those are the images that I think surprise people and say, we should be trying this. We should be getting on a ship because this is an industry that's innovating, really, offering really exciting choices.
That's funny almost. I think you should just open up the ships for the day and just have people pay to just walk around the ships, have some food, enjoy some activities, and then go home at 5:00. It's like a parked amusement park. I think it'd be fun.
There's enough to do on the ship that we could actually do that. But,
I know.
Have propellers and rudders, and we like to head out to sea. That's part of the part of the romance.
Yeah, and then also they're like their entire cities, floating cities. It's incredible how that even happens. I always enjoy the image of people swimming in a pool surrounded by an ocean. It's just it's just an odd thing to me. It's interesting.
It's definitely we've worked really hard to do some things that are unusual on our ships that attract attention and bring new cruisers in.
Yeah. What are some of the destinations that are quite popular now?
Alaska's a big destination for us. We just put our big new ship, Norwegian Bliss, into Alaska, and it's been the most successful ship launch we've ever had. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful destination to cruise to. We sail out of Seattle, and it's a 7-day cruise. And some days are spent at sea just looking at the most beautiful scenery probably anywhere in the world. And then we stop in destinations like Juneau or Ketchikan or Skagway and take guests. They can buy a trip up on a helicopter up to a glacier and go dog sledding or go whale watching or go see the bears, go salmon fishing. It's just an incredible destination to enjoy the ship, see the scenery, get up close and personal with some of the wildlife and see just some of the most beautiful places on Earth. So Alaska's a great place. We're cruising in the Caribbean, in Hawaii, some wonderful cruises in Europe. Go see some of the European capitals. That's a pretty exciting cruise. So we're really cruising all over the world and offering great choices everywhere.
Wow. I understand you've been with the company for 30 years. Is that right?
I have, yeah. I joined in 1988 when the industry was really in its infancy. It's come so far during that time. So it's been quite a journey.
That must be fascinating for you to see how the technology, how the ships have changed over the years. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool that you can see both ends of that.
It's been incredible. I mean, we could almost fit our entire fleet inside one of our new ships today. Just from a scale standpoint, it's changed so much. And, the early ships had one restaurant and one show, and now we have 20-plus restaurants and all these different entertainment choices. And if you told me in 1988 we'd ever have a racetrack on a ship, I would have had you personally certified. So the industry's really changed. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I still think you should be personally certified.
We can leave that as an option.
Anyway, so there, besides the West Coast, are there other cities that you sail out of?
Yeah, in the U.S. we're sailing out of New York, Port Canaveral, Miami, New Orleans, Los Angeles, Seattle, Vancouver. Wow. We sail out of San Juan in the Caribbean, and then in Europe we're sailing out of Barcelona, Rome, Copenhagen, Venice. Cool. So lots of choices in Europe. In Australia we're sailing between Sydney and Auckland, between Singapore and Hong Kong. In Asia. So we really are sailing all over the world and cruises from 3 and 4 days out of Miami to, we have a cruise to Cuba, 4-day cruise to Cuba out of Miami and Port Canaveral. So many choices at Norwegian, and we really offer something for everybody.
Yeah. See, I love to eat. That's my hobby, and cruises just kind of know that I like to eat, apparently, because they always make the food available to me in a world-class kind of situation. I I think it's fantastic.
I think that the it's one of the things that's changed a lot is dining. It used to be a big main restaurant, and now we have steakhouses, French restaurants, Italian, teppanyaki, sushi, you name it.
That's the way.
There's every kind of cuisine. So I think we can indulge your hobby quite effectively.
Yeah, well, you kind of mirror an urban city now with all these different cultural choices and different forms of entertainment. Before it used to be you go to the dining room and you eat with the other 1,000 people, and that was very camp-like. Now it's just like you're just roaming the city streets and going to different places.
I think that's the perfect description. And dining in cities has become much more. There's so many more choices, and these exciting new niche restaurants are coming to small suburban areas. So as an industry, we have to live up to that. The consumers becoming more demanding, and I think we've done a good job in continuing to move and deliver the things that guests want today.
Right. It's definitely the way to travel stress-free, I'll tell you that. It's simple, especially if you live in New York, Miami, wherever, and you just, you pull up the car, you get on the boat, and you're done. Hey, great speaking to you. How do we get more information?
NCL.com is our website. So lots of information there on the ships, the destinations, the promotions. We have a free air promotion that's starting on the 4th of October, which will really give some incredible value with free air and reduced air to lots of our Caribbean sailing. So NCL.com.
Very nice. Hey, good speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Great chatting with you as well, Ron. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Laura. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Great. Laura Adams is a personal finance expert and award-winning author. She's been featured on NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, Bloomberg, NPR. But the pinnacle of her career is about to happen right now. Okay. Anyway, Laura, this is a time when people are thinking Medicare, health insurance, and all that kind of stuff, and scrambling to make sure that they're getting the best health insurance they can. But there are other opportunities from many companies that sometimes employees don't really seek or know much about, I guess.
That's so true. A recent study from employee benefits company Unum found that about 49% of survey respondents spend less than 30 minutes reviewing their options. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of options. Most companies are providing health care. That's certainly the number one benefit in the workplace. But dental is huge. This is a really important benefit. 401k, vision, life, and disability. So these are all some of the most popular benefits, and employees really need to review them. They can be a little complex. So take more than 30 minutes to review your options this season.
Yeah. I mean, I compared it to Medicare because seniors are making a choice right now, which they can do every year, and kind of the same in private industry with one's employer when they're not even on Medicare yet. There are many decisions to be made. It's very difficult for the common person to be laid out a bunch of information in front of them and then to make a logical decision on which plan to go with. Most people just look at dollars, but I guess that's not everything.
It is confusing, and it does come down to what you can afford, the type of coverage that you need, and you want to make sure that even if you're enrolling in health care, that this is not leaving gaps in your coverage. Just enrolling in a healthcare plan is fantastic, but there are gaps there. So you want to think about what else do you need financially to protect yourself. Disability insurance, this is key. This protects your ability to earn an income. This is one of our most important assets. So if you're not enrolled in a disability policy at work, I would say this is something you really should take a look at. It can protect up to 60% of your salary if you are unable to work due to a covered injury or accident. Mm-hmm. Life insurance, this is another one. Whether it's a term policy or whole policy, life insurance is a key policy to make sure you're protecting your loved ones if you are not around.
Yeah. And then I understand from reading what I have here that there's pet insurance may even come into play. I never would think that would be allowable.
Yeah, there are some companies that are offering some pretty interesting benefits. What's interesting, though, is with the recent study from Unum, they found that pet insurance was really low on the list. Only 15% of respondents said that was what they wanted. So what was more important is family leave. 60% of the Unum study respondents said they want family leave. So this shows they are caring for young kids, they're caring for parents perhaps, and they want some flexibility. They're also looking for remote working opportunities, things like professional development, going to the gym. These all came above pet insurance when they had the choice.
Yeah. Laura, I think some people that are employed in companies are a little apprehensive about going to their HR, human resources, for those of you that understand initials, and because they feel like they're making a stink or they're asking too many questions or they're complaining about something. Are some people indeed intrepid about sitting down and talking about those things?
Ron, I think you bring up a good point. I do think people feel a little timid about asking questions.
Yeah.
But the reality is, these are benefits that are confusing for most people, and we need to take the time to ask the questions if we're not clear. You're paying good money for these benefits, so make sure you understand what you're getting. So I would say definitely go to your administrator at work, go to anybody who is in charge of leading your benefits, and sitting down with them, emailing questions if you don't feel comfortable, face-to-face. Get the answers that you need before enrollment season ends.
Yeah, I mean, in companies that are large enough to have human resources departments, it's because they are independently working for the employees, so they're kind of on your side. Would it be a good idea to just go in there and say, can I get an updated booklet of all possible benefits? That's okay. And then you can look that over and ask questions.
Absolutely. And I'd say if there are benefits that are missing that you'd like to have, you need to request that. Let them know if there's something that you want. If there's, not a dental policy on your plan, let your employee, the benefits department or the boss at work, whoever you work with, let them know that there's some things that you would like to see in your plan. So that feedback is important to them in addition to making sure that you understand the details about the enrollment process.
Okay. Quickly, what happens after you leave a company for whatever reason that may be? What happens to all these benefits?
Right. So, if you've got something like a 401k, you can roll that over in most cases. But in a lot of situations, you are going to lose those benefits. You may be able to get a COBRA plan for health insurance, which only lasts for a particular period of time.
Very expensive, too.
It is, yes. So you want to take a look at what your options are after you leave, and that is the employer's responsibility to make sure you know what those are when you leave the company.
Okay. Well, if anybody has any more questions, where would they go?
Take a look at unum.com/benefits. That's spelled unum.com/benefits.
Okay. And you're doing the Money Girl podcast?
I am.
Cool. So they can go there. That's available everywhere, I'd assume.
Absolutely. Would love for folks to tune in to the weekly show.
Cool. Laura, thanks for your time today.
Ron, thank you for having me.
You take care. Bye-bye. Well, there you go. A lot of people, a lot of information. Take in what you want to take in, don't what you don't. I don't really care. After the show's over, you go about your own life. I'm not involved in it whatsoever. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and as I always say, until the next time, I wish you peace.